So I've fallen off a lot in the past. I've made insane amounts of progress in a couple weeks, and then there would come a time when everything would just crumble down. In 2 days, I would ruin weeks of growth. And this is how inconsistent I was for so long. I was just in this cycle of ups and then downs. So if you zoom out and look at my macro growth, there wasn't much growth because it was so up and then so down to where overall I wasn't being consistently good, right? You in life, you want your trend to kind of be like this. That doesn't mean there's not going to be bumps in the road and there's not going to be tough times, but you're just consistently good. The ups aren't so up, the downs aren't so down. And so I was here and then here, so my overall growth wasn't that much. Now there's 5 key reasons as to why I couldn't stay consistent and as to why I would always fall off. And the first reason is I would rely on motivation. Now motivation is just an emotion. Like being happy, you could feel very happy and then 5 minutes later you could feel a completely different thing. That's the same with motivation. You can watch a Kobe Bryant podcast, listen to David Goggins speak, and you want to wake up at 1 a.m., do a million burpees, but that's not going to last forever. And if you're only basing your actions off of how you feel, you're only going to work once a week? Once a week is when you get that insane amounts of motivation after you watch a clip, after you see a video, something like that. So instead of motivation, you need systems. You need to make it easy for yourself to succeed. Now, if you curate your environment in a specific way to where it's easy for you to succeed, as to where doing the daily actions, the daily habits become automatic, then it's that much easier, and it doesn't feel hard to stay consistent. So let's use the gym as an example. The night before, you can say, tomorrow I think I'll go to the gym. Maybe when I feel energy, maybe when I feel motivated. If that's what you're telling yourself, you're probably going to skip the gym tomorrow. But if you tell yourself, all right, tomorrow I'm going to wake up, I'm going to knock a couple things off, I'm going to make my bed, I'm going to do this, get to work, whatever, and then I'm going to go to the gym at 8:30, you're not going to fall off. You want it to become consistent. You don't want to have to think about doing these habits. For me, I don't think about going to the gym. I go every morning around 6 a.m. is when I get in there, and that's just automatic. It's not, oh, I hope tomorrow I go to the gym. No, I know exactly what I'm going to do when I wake up. I know exactly what I'm going to do when I get to the gym. So there's no guesswork. It's automatic success. And that's because I've designed a system that outlines exactly what I need to do. There's no guesswork. I'm not waiting to feel motivated. I just know what I have to do. If I'm feeling motivated, that's great. If I'm not feeling motivated, that's great as well. We have stuff to do. I told myself I'm going to do this. I outlined a system. I'm around people who hold me accountable. I'm around people who are on the same type of wave. My environment is great for me wanting to go to the gym. I wake up with my workout clothes already made right next to me. I wake up with my caffeine pill I take already next to me. So there's no guesswork. I don't need to rely on motivation. I can do what I need to do regardless of how I feel. The second reason I would always fall off is I hadn't completely shifted my identity. We'll use smoke and weed as an example for this one. I had smoked every day for about 7 years in a row, all day, every day, 10 times a day, spending a lot of money on weed. And during those 7 years, there were a couple periods to where I would take breaks. I took a 30-day break a while ago. I took a 90-day break. And this whole time, I didn't feel like smoking. It wasn't too difficult for me to get my head off the thought of, oh, I'm not smoking, I'm sober right now. But I was still telling myself that I'm a smoker. Still deep down, I believed I was a smoker, even though I hadn't done it for 90 days at times. I was still telling myself I'm a smoker. I'm just in a period where I'm sober. And so because I hadn't fully shifted my identity to somebody who doesn't smoke as to somebody who that's not part of their life, all it took was one day for me to get bored, one day for me to want to smoke until I got back into it, because deep down I was telling myself I still smoke, so that's the habit, that was the action that I took. Now, you can change your identity. Let's say I'd still, at this point, still smoked every day for seven years in a row, and I hadn't gone one day without smoking. Even today, I could change my identity. Yes, you don't have much reason to believe that you aren't a smoker if you tell yourself you're not a smoker after smoking for 7 years in a row, right? But if you start telling yourself something and then you start aligning your actions and fully lean in to that version of yourself, your identity will shift. It might not be instant, but if you consistently tell yourself something like you're not a smoker, like you're sober, then, and your actions align with that, what you tell yourself aligns with that, then you'll completely cut out that habit. So the mistake that I made was that I wasn't smoking, but I was under the impression that I was just resisting it at that time. I was in a period of sobriety, and a couple months or a couple days or today, if I wanted to smoke, I could. That was kind of what was going on deep down. And so when that moment came, it was easy for me to cave in and get right back into that, because my identity hadn't completely shifted. I wasn't telling myself I was a smoker, but I was also telling myself that I was just on a break. So I was contradicting myself. So in order to stay consistent, you need to completely shift your identity to the person that you want to become. If you don't want to be a smoker and you've smoked your last 7 years, it doesn't matter. That you don't have to be a smoker. Starting today, tell yourself you don't want to be a smoker, or you're not a smoker. You start living towards that. That's going to become the truth. The third reason as to why I kept falling off, couldn't stay consistent, is I was chasing too much at once. I was trying to do everything. I was trying to build my bank account, build my physique, relationships, work on 4 different businesses. I was trying to do way too much all at once. Now, you might see a successful person who's 50 years old and it seems like they're able to do so much at once. It seems like they have 10 different businesses. They have a great relationship with everybody in their lives. They take care of themselves, take care of their family. But that took years. When you're just getting started, when you're trying to become consistent, you can't focus on everything at once. You have to focus on a few simple goals. You need to consistently compound these small wins, which then turn into big wins. And after doing, like you look at the older person who looks like they have it all figured out, they didn't do it all at once. They got consistent with a couple goals that became automatic for them, so then they're able to work on another business. Now they're able to really focus on relationships or really focus on their finances, whatever it was, but they didn't do it all at once. So for me, for example, I was reselling shoes. That was my first real business, was sneaker reselling. I had been doing it for about 2 years, been really consistent, was basically all in with that. And then all of a sudden I wanted to start doing e-commerce, and I wanted to start a window cleaning business. So I had started doing these things, and it just took my focus away from the end goal. I was kind of working on the sneaker business, kind of working on the e-commerce, kind of doing the window cleaning. And when you're kind of doing so many different things, well, number one, you get overwhelmed. It seems like all your goals are so far away because you're just growing so slowly with each one. Number two, you're not fully focused on one thing. And when you're trying to build something, you need focus. It takes a lot of your energy, but if your energy spreads so thin, your focus is spread so thin with many different things, it's tough to see growth. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, it feels like you're not going anywhere with anything that you're doing, it'll be very easy to revert back into the old self and to start picking up on some old habits, and to say, maybe I'm not meant for any of these businesses. I'm not seeing growth in any of them. the window cleaning's not going my way, the e-commerce isn't going my way, the sneaker reselling kind of slowed down a bit because I started spreading myself too thin. And so there would come times to where I was like, man, I just don't want to do any of this anymore. And that's when I would revert back. I would have these big fall offs to where I would go a week or two without doing any business, and I was spreading myself too thin. I was chasing too much at once. So in order to stay consistent, lock in on a few small goals. That could be, for example, you want to work on staying clean. Maybe your car was so dirty, maybe your room's always dirty. A small win to kind of set the tone and to get you off running would be to stay clean. You could do stay clean, and you could do have a nice conversation with your mom once every other day, let's say. 2 small wins that are very doable that you can fully focus on. If you're fully focused on being clean, that could take 15 minutes a day, and a conversation with your mom could take 10, 15 minutes every other day, but you're fully focused, you're fully engaged, and you're stacking wins. That's what's so important. Is it doesn't matter how big or small the win is, right? So you might as well start with these smaller wins, because if you're just getting started and you're saying you need to make $1 million for it to be a win, you're going to be stacking 0 wins for a long time. But if you're saying you need to wake up at this exact time every morning, you could stack a win first thing, and it's simple, it's not overwhelming. You're focused on a few small, simple goals. You're stacking wins over time. You're not spreading yourself too thin. So in order to stay consistent, to fully lean in to the better version of yourself, focus on a couple small goals at a time. The 4th reason I would constantly fall off is I would let my emotions run the show. So similar to motivation, if you're just waiting for motivation to work, you're not going to be working too much. It's the same with your emotions. If you're waiting until you feel energized, or you waiting until you feel happy to have the conversation with your mom, or you're waiting to feel, organized to start cleaning, then you're never really going to start. Because a lot of these things that you want to do and that you want to accomplish, like making money, like having great relationships with those around you, you have to start doing those first. You have to put in the effort to make the relationship better, and then you'll start getting the rewards. But you're not all of a sudden going to feel this big urgency to go have this conversation with your mom if you haven't done it. You're not gonna really want to wake up out of bed if you're not motivated. But if your mindset is, I know that if I wake up, regardless of how I feel, I know that if I talk to my mom, regardless of how I feel, I know if I do the work, regardless of how my emotions feel, then the emotions I'm looking for will come. If you talk to your mom, you'll get that sense of love and that comfort and that joy by doing the action. If you wake up at whatever time you said, you get that sense of a win, of accomplishment. You get that motivation by doing the action, not waiting for the emotion in order to do the action. So what I was doing is I was waiting to be confident, let's say, to go start talking to strangers. I was waiting to be proud of myself to start posting online. And by waiting for these emotions, the day that I didn't feel motivated, the day that I didn't feel confident, the day that I didn't feel energized to go work out, then that's when this downfall would start. Because I thought that, because I feel this way, it must mean I just can't do the action. And then that would start this overall snow, what's it called? When the snowball just rolls down and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I would have one wrong move and then everything would just fall down after that. And so when you understand that the vision and the purpose and the goals that you have are more important than your emotions, and that the emotions that you're looking for will come to you by living in your purpose and by doing the work, it's easy to stay consistent. Okay, so I was falling off because I was letting my emotions run the show. The fifth reason as to why I would fall off is I just wouldn't commit long enough. I would think in 2 weeks, after I have a perfect diet for 2 weeks, then I'll be at a place where I can relax, I can kind of lay my foot off the gas, and I could take it easy. That's not going to happen. 2 weeks, if you do anything for 2 weeks and then you stop doing it, it's just going to disappear. You're going to fall off. So something for me was when I started that e-commerce business, I remember the first couple days I was super into it. I was spending all day at the library watching courses, watching YouTube videos, putting in reps. And then after 1 week, I didn't see any results. I thought it was going to be quick money. I thought it was going to be easy money. After 1 week, I started seeing no results. And so I thought, this isn't for me. But I only gave it 1 week. Things could take 1 year. That business could have taken 1 year, and then I would have had that insane growth. My social media, for example, in the past, I would have probably quit a long time ago because I haven't seen results. I have barely any subscribers here. Instagram, not many. TikTok, not many. But it doesn't matter because I know that I'm in this for the long run. I know that at any moment I could wake up with 50,000 Instagram followers. I have 2,000 right now because I'm thinking more long term. I'm not thinking, oh, if I don't get 50,000 followers in the next week, it's over. I'm not meant for social media. I'm not meant to inspire others. I'm not meant to lead. That's what I would have done in the past, and that would have caused me to fall off. Because anything worth doing is going to take time. It looks like people blow up overnight. It looks like somebody's business magically skyrockets right after they start it. But that's never the case. There's years of work behind the scenes that you don't see. Even if somebody's social media or business or whatever takes off right away, they've built themselves before that. It's like the bamboo. You see a bamboo, it's been growing underground for 5 years before it ever springs up out of the ground. So you see a bamboo, you see it's this magical tree, it's fast growing, so strong, but you don't see the baseline that it built. You don't see the roots and there's what's the word that I'm looking for? It's like the building. If it has the strong base, it's good. If you took time and built that base, built the foundation, there we go, then maybe you will get that overnight success. But only committing to something for a week, a day, 2-3 weeks isn't going to cut it. Even for me, after 90 days of not smoking, all it took was 1 day and I fell right back into that trap. So long-term visions, understand that you might go through a day, a week, a month, years of no growth before you get that breakthrough moment. That's what's going to keep you staying consistent, because then you're just doing it because you want to make yourself proud. I don't care about followers. I don't care about people thinking I'm doing well, but I care about me making myself proud. I care about me becoming the man that I know I should be. And this is new. Before, I didn't have that. I was just thinking, okay, if I don't do this in 2 days, then it's not going to work. But now my horizon is expanded. I have a long-term vision, and if I don't see success in the next so and so amount of time, it's okay. In order to stay consistent, in order to not fall off, you need a long-term vision. You need to understand that you may go through some rough patches, and that's only making you better. Long-term vision, consistent growth, doing the right thing every day will help you be consistently good. Those are the 5 things that I did in the past that caused me to fall off, that caused me to go way up and then way down. And a main goal for me right now is just to get overall more consistent, to have these ups and downs to where it's not hills and valleys, but rather small bumps in the road, being consistently good. That's the life I'm after. if you have a a certain similar situation to me, and maybe you felt inconsistent, maybe you're meant for so much, but you have a tough time being consistently good instead of great and then terrible. This is what I help people with on for my business. So DM me on Instagram at Blake D'Ambrosio. We'll see what we can do. Fitness, mindset, habits, accountability. We'll see what you need help with. We'll see if you're a good fit. And yeah, those are my 5 key reasons as to why I would constantly fall off. Let's go.